The escape. Marcus's hands moved fast over the ship controls. His heart was beating hard in his chest. The slave traders' ships were getting closer, and he knew they wouldn't give up easily. Next to him, the alien girl Luna sat quietly, her crystal-like skin glowing softly in the dim light of the cockpit. "Hold on tight," Marcus said, pushing the throttle forward. His old cargo ship wasn't built for speed, but he knew how to make it move when he had to. The engines roared as they pushed away from the trading post's docking area. 3 black ships appeared on his radar screen. They were catching up fast. Marcus looked at Luna. She was scared but trying to be brave. Her big purple eyes were fixed on the radar screen, watching the enemy ships get closer. "They're going to catch us," Luna whispered in broken English. Her voice shook with fear. Marcus smiled. "Not if I can help it. See that asteroid field ahead? That's our way out." The asteroid field stretched out before them like a maze of floating rocks. Most pilots wouldn't dare fly through it. But Marcus wasn't most pilots. His years of cargo running had taught him a few tricks. The first enemy shot missed them by inches. The whole ship shook. Luna grabbed her seat tighter, her crystal skin flickering with nervous energy. "Marcus," she called out. "The big rocks ahead. They have bad energy. Radiation. Very dangerous." Marcus looked at her in surprise. He didn't know her species could sense radiation. "Can you tell me which ones to avoid?" Luna nodded quickly. "Left. Go left," she shouted. Marcus turned the ship hard to the left. A second later, his radiation sensors went crazy. If they had gone right, they would have flown straight into a deadly radiation cloud. The slave traders' ships were still following, but they were having trouble with the asteroids. One of their ships had to slow down to avoid a crash. "You're helping us survive," Marcus said to Luna. "Keep telling me which way is safe." Working together, they'd weave through the asteroid field. Luna would point out the dangerous areas, and Marcus would find the safe path through them. The slave traders didn't have this advantage. They had to fly much slower to avoid the radiation zones. But their luck couldn't last forever. A small asteroid hit their right engine. Red warning lights flashed across the control panel. The ship started to shake badly. "Main engine is damaged," Marcus said, trying to keep his voice calm. "We need to find a place to land. Fast." Luna pointed to something on the navigation screen. "There. Small repair station. 3 minutes away." Marcus checked the radar. The slave traders were far behind now, still stuck in the asteroid field. They had a chance to get away, but only if the engine held together long enough. The ship shuddered and groaned as Marcus pushed it toward the repair station. Smoke was starting to come from the right engine. The temperature gauge was rising into the red zone. "Come on, old girl," Marcus whispered to his ship. "Just a little further." The repair station grew larger in their view screen. It wasn't much, just a small platform attached to a rusty old space station. But right now, it looked like the most beautiful thing Marcus had ever seen. With the last bit of power from the failing engine, Marcus guided the ship into a landing. The touchdown was rough, but they made it. As soon as they landed, he shut down all systems to hide their energy signature. Anyone looking for them would have a hard time finding their powered-down ship among all the others at the repair station. Luna let out a long breath. Her crystal skin had stopped flickering and now glowed with a steady, calm light. "We are safe." Marcus checked the long-range scanners one last time. The slave traders' ships were nowhere to be seen. "We're safe for now. But we need to fix the engine and move on quickly. They won't give up looking for us." Luna nodded, then did something unexpected. She reached over and touched Marcus's hand. Her crystal skin felt warm. "Thank you," she said simply, "for helping me, for risking everything." Marcus smiled at her. "You helped save us too." Those radiation warnings made the difference. He stood up from his pilot's seat. "Now let's see about fixing that engine before our friends catch up with us." As they walked to the engine room, Marcus realized something. He had started this day as a simple cargo pilot. Now he was a wanted man, helping an escaped slave and running from dangerous criminals. His life had completely changed in just a few hours. But looking at Luna, seeing how she was already stronger and less afraid, he knew he had made the right choice. Sometimes the right path was the dangerous one. Building trust. The repair station's dim lights cast long shadows across Marcus's face as he worked on the damaged engine. His hands were covered in black grease, and sweat dripped from his forehead. The engine parts were spread out around him like a complicated puzzle. Luna sat nearby, watching him with curious purple eyes. "Why that part goes there?" she asked, pointing to a twisted piece of metal Marcus was trying to fix. "This is the power converter," Marcus explained, wiping his hands on an old rag. "It takes energy from the fuel and turns it into power for the ship. The asteroid hit broke it pretty bad." Luna's crystal skin flickered with interest. She moved closer, and suddenly her skin began to glow brighter. Small sparks of energy danced between her fingers. I can help," she said hesitantly. "My people, we can move energy, fix broken paths. But I never tell slavers this. They only use us for weapons." Marcus put down his tools, surprised. "You can repair electronic components." Luna nodded slowly. "Watch." She placed her hands near the broken power converter. Her crystal skin lit up like a star, and blue-white energy flowed from her fingers into the damaged part. The metal began to glow, and Marcus watched in amazement as the broken pieces started to reconnect. Molecular bonds were forming under Luna's power. "That's incredible," Marcus whispered. "I've never seen anything like it." Luna finished and stepped back, looking tired but proud. "My people are healers. We fix things, not weapons like slavers want." The repaired power converter looked brand new. Marcus tested it with his diagnostic tool. It worked perfectly. What would have taken days to fix, Luna had done in minutes. "Thank you," Marcus said sincerely. "This would have cost a fortune to repair normally. But Luna, why didn't you tell me about this ability sooner?" Luna's glow dimmed, and she wrapped her arms around herself. "Hard to trust. Last person I tell. They try to sell me for more money." Marcus felt anger rise in his chest at what she'd been through. "I promise you, Luna, I will never use you or sell you. You're a free person, not a tool or a weapon." Luna's skin brightened a little at his words. She sat down on a nearby crate, and for the first time, she began to tell her full story. "My world called Crystal Gardens," she said softly. "Beautiful place. Crystal trees everywhere. Energy flows like rivers in air. My people live in peace, heal sick things, fix broken things. Then slavers come." As Luna spoke, Marcus continued working on other parts of the engine, listening carefully. She described how the slave traders had discovered her people's abilities and saw them as valuable commodities. They attacked at night, taking mainly the young ones who couldn't fight back. "I was very small," Luna continued, her voice getting quieter. "They take me from sleep room. My family tried to save me, but slavers have weapons. Big ships, many guards." Marcus stopped working and sat beside her. "How long were you with them?" 7 cycles, Luna said, touching a dark mark on her crystal skin that looked like a scar. "They sell me many times. Each owner want different thing. Make weapons, power ships, break security systems. If I say no," she touched the scar again. Marcus noticed something strange about the repair station's shadows. They were moving wrong. He held up a hand to quiet Luna and listened carefully. Footsteps, too many of them. Trying to be quiet. "Station security," he whispered. "And they're trying to surround us." Luna's skin flickered with fear, but she stood up straighter. "I can make us invisible to cameras. Energy trick, but only for a short time." Marcus quickly gathered his essential tools. "That's perfect. We need to get back to the ship without being seen. These station security guards, They're probably already paid off by the slave traders. Luna placed her hand on the station's nearest power conduit. Her skin glowed brightly for a moment. Then she sent a pulse of energy through the system. All the security cameras in their section sparked and went dark. 12 minutes, she said. Then cameras work again. They moved quickly through the shadows of the repair station, avoiding the searching security teams. Luna's ability to sense electrical systems helped them dodge patrols by detecting their radio signals. Marcus led them through maintenance tunnels he remembered from his military days. They were almost back to the ship when a security guard spotted them. Before Marcus could react, Luna touched a nearby power panel. The whole section went dark, plunging everyone into complete darkness. In the confusion, they slipped past the guards and made it to their ship. Marcus powered up the engines. They hummed perfectly thanks to Luna's repairs. As they lifted off from the repair station, alarms began blaring behind them, but they were already too far away to be caught. Once they were safely in space, Marcus set a course for the outer colonies where they'd be harder to track. He looked over at Luna, who seemed tired from using her powers but satisfied. "You know," he said thoughtfully, "those abilities of yours, they're amazing. But not because they're useful, because they're meant to help and heal. That's the real power." Luna's skin glowed warmly at his words. "Marcus, thank you for seeing me as person, not tool. Always," he promised. "Now how about I teach you to play cards? We got a long flight ahead, and you should know that not all human pastimes involve running from security guards." Luna laughed, a sound like tinkling crystals, and for the first time since he'd met her, she seemed truly relaxed. As Marcus began explaining the rules of poker, he realized something. He wasn't just helping Luna escape anymore. He was helping her find herself again, the person she was before the slavers took her. But their moment of peace wouldn't last long. On the ship's long-range scanner, 3 familiar black dots appeared. The slave traders had found them again, and this time they were bringing a much bigger ship, the Hunter's Return. Marcus stared at the 3 black dots on his radar screen. The slave traders' ships were getting closer, and this time they had brought their mothership, a massive vessel that made Marcus's cargo ship look like a toy. "They're not trying to hide anymore," Marcus said grimly. "That big ship is a Ravageur-class combat vessel, military-grade weapons." Luna's crystal skin pulsed with nervous energy. She was standing at the ship's power control panel, her fingers touching the metal surface. "Ship has strange energy pattern, not normal engines." "What do you mean?" Like pain," Luna said, her face troubled. "Many crystal people inside. They forced them to power ship." Marcus felt sick. The slave traders weren't just chasing them. They were using Luna's people as living batteries to power their ships. No wonder they could track them so easily. They had forced captives to enhance their systems. The emergency alarm screamed. A massive energy beam shot past their ship, missing by meters. The slave traders weren't trying to capture them anymore. They were trying to destroy them. "Hold on." Marcus yanked the controls, sending their ship into a spiral. "Luna, can you do anything with our shields?" Luna pressed her hands against the control panel. Her crystal skin blazed with light as she pushed her energy into the ship's systems. The shield's strength doubled, then tripled. "Cannot hold long," she gasped. "Too much power." Another blast hit them, but the enhanced shields held. Marcus pointed their ship toward a nearby nebula, a massive cloud of gas and dust. The nebula's radiation and magnetic fields might hide them from the slave trader sensors. But before they could reach it, something strange happened. The mothership fired a new kind of weapon, a pulse of purple energy that moved too fast to dodge. When it hit their ship, nothing seemed to break, but Luna screamed. She fell to her knees, her crystal skin flickering wildly. "Hurts. Energy. Wrong energy. They try to control me." Marcus saw dark purple lines spreading across Luna's crystal skin like cracks. The slave traders were using some kind of energy weapon designed specifically to capture her people. "Fight it, Luna." Marcus knelt beside her while trying to keep the ship steady. "Remember what you told me. You're a healer, not a weapon. This is your energy, not theirs." Luna's eyes were glowing purple now, but she grabbed Marcus's arm. Her touch was burning hot. Help me focus. Like cards game. Need to concentrate." Marcus remembered teaching her poker the day before, how she had learned to focus and control her expressions. "Okay, like the game. Count the cards in your mind. Focus on each number, each suit. The energy is yours to control." Luna closed her eyes. Her crystal skin flickered between purple and her natural blue-white color. She was fighting the slave traders' control, using the simple card-counting exercise to maintain her sense of self. Suddenly, she stood up. Her skin blazed with brilliant white light. "My energy," she shouted. "Not yours." A pulse of pure white energy burst from her body, flowing through the ship's systems. The purple corruption from the slave trader's weapon burned away. But Luna wasn't done. She pressed her hands to the control panel again. "Marcus," she said, her voice stronger now. "Get close to Big Ship. I feel my people inside. Can help them." It was incredibly dangerous, but Marcus understood. He turned their ship around, heading straight for the mothership. The smaller slave trader ships fired at them, but Luna's enhanced shields held. As they got closer, Luna's power reached out toward the mothership. Marcus watched in amazement as lines of white energy streamed from their ship toward the larger vessel. Luna was connecting with her enslaved people inside. "Wake up, sisters, brothers," she whispered in her native language, a sound like crystals chiming. "Remember who you are. Healers, not weapons. Free, not slaves." The mothership's lights flickered. Through the view screen, Marcus saw bursts of white light erupting all over its hull. The enslaved crystal people were fighting back, using Luna's energy as a catalyst. The slave trader's ship began to lose power as its living batteries rebelled. Emergency pods ejected from its sides as the crew abandoned ship. The smaller attack vessels turned to flee. But the victory came at a cost. Luna collapsed, completely drained. Marcus caught her before she hit the floor. Her crystal skin was barely glowing now. "Luna, stay with me." He carried her to the medical bay, laying her gently on a bed. "What do you need? How can I help?" Her eyes fluttered open. "Son," she whispered. "Need star energy. Pure light." Marcus ran back to the controls. He knew exactly where to go. Setting a course for the nearest star, he pushed the engines as fast as they would go. Behind them, the slave trader's mothership drifted powerless in space, its crew gone, its captives finally free. As they approached the star, Marcus adjusted the ship's filters to let in more light while blocking harmful radiation. Luna lay in the medical bay, positioned so the starlight could fall directly on her crystal skin. Slowly, her natural glow returned. The dark marks from the slave trader's weapon faded away. She had done something incredible, not just saving herself, but freeing dozens of her people. "You know what this means," Marcus said softly as she recovered. "You're not just a healer. You're a liberator. You showed your people how to fight back." Luna's skin shimmered with a new kind of energy. Not fear or power, but pride. "Not just me," she said. "You help me remember who I am. Teach me to focus, to be strong." Marcus smiled, but then his expression turned serious as he checked the ship's communication system. "The slave traders who escaped, they'll tell others about what you can do, about how you broke their control. They'll be even more determined to capture you now." Luna sat up, her strength returning with the starlight. "Then we free more of my people. I not hide anymore." She looked at Marcus. "But you already in much danger, if you want to leave me at safe place." Marcus shook his head. "No chance. We're partners now. Where you go, I go." A signal started beeping on the communication panel. The freed crystal people from the slave ship were calling. They wanted to join Luna and Marcus in their fight. As Marcus set course to pick up their new allies, he realized this had grown into something much bigger than just helping one escaped slave. They were starting a revolution. But first, they needed a plan, and Marcus knew just who to contact. His old military friends who had been tracking the slave trade for years. It was time to build an army. Luna stood beside him at the control panel, her crystal skin glowing with determined purpose. She wasn't running anymore. She was fighting back. And the slave traders were about to learn just how powerful a healer could be when she chose to fight. The underground network. The abandoned mining station hung in space like a forgotten skeleton. Its dark metal corridors were perfect for secret meetings. Marcus led Luna through the quiet halls, following coordinates he'd received from his old military contact. Behind them walked 3 of the rescued crystal people: Zara, whose skin glowed deep blue; Tech, who sparkled with green energy; and Nova, whose white crystal surface reminded Luna of home. They had chosen to stay and fight instead of seeking safety. "Your friend is trustworthy?" Luna asked, her crystal skin dimmed to avoid attention. Marcus nodded. "Captain Sarah Chen. She was my commander in the Space Marines. She's been investigating the slave trade for years. If anyone can help us, it's her." They entered a large storage room. Boxes and old mining equipment created shadows everywhere. A figure stepped out from behind a tall container. A woman in civilian clothes with short gray hair and sharp eyes. "Marcus," she said with a slight smile. "Still finding trouble, I see." "Sarah." Marcus stepped forward to greet his old commander. "Thank you for meeting us." Sarah's eyes moved to Luna and the other crystal people. Her expression turned serious. "So it's true. The crystalline species. We've heard rumors about your abilities, but the slave traders keep their secrets well hidden." Luna stepped forward, her skin brightening slightly. "We want to stop them. Free our people, but need help." Sarah pulled out a data tablet. "You've already helped more than you know. That mothership you disabled, it caused chaos in their operation. But," she paused, looking troubled, "it also made them desperate. They're moving their remaining crystal captives to a new location, something called the Deep Vault." Marcus felt Luna tense beside him. Her skin flickered with fear. "You know this place?" he asked her. Luna nodded slowly. "Deep Vault is Nightmare Place, where they experiment. Try to make crystal people into better weapons. Many go in, few come out." Sarah swiped through more information on her tablet. "We've never found its location. The slave traders use a complex network of jump points to hide their routes. But now we have you." She looked at Luna. "You can sense your people's energy. Could you track them?" "Maybe," Luna said, "but need to be closer, and—" She hesitated. "Deep Vault has dark energy shields. Makes our powers weak." Zara stepped forward, her blue crystal skin pulsing. "Not if we work together. Many of us, power stronger." Sarah nodded. "I can help with that. There's a growing underground network of former slaves and sympathizers, people who want to fight back. With your abilities and their information, we might have a chance." She pressed a button on her tablet. A holographic map appeared in the air, showing dozens of points of light across multiple star systems. "Each light is a safe house," Sarah explained. "Places where escaped slaves can hide. But they're also gathering points for resistance fighters. We've been waiting for the right moment to strike." Marcus studied the map. "That's a lot of allies." "More than that," Sarah said. "Many of them are former military like us, people who couldn't stomach seeing slavery continue. They'd been gathering weapons, ships, and most importantly, information." Suddenly, Luna's skin blazed with light. She grabbed Marcus's arm. "Feel something. Crystal energy, moving fast. Coming this way." Sarah immediately pulled out a weapon. "How many?" "2 ships," Luna said, her eyes closed in concentration. "Have crystal engines, but energy feels wrong. Corrupted. Slave trader patrol ships, Marcus realized. They must have followed us. Sarah was already moving. There's a hidden hangar below. Alternative escape route. But she looked at the crystal people. We'll need a distraction. Nova stepped forward, her white crystal skin beginning to glow brighter. We can blind their sensors. Create energy burst. No, Luna said firmly. Too dangerous for you. I do it. Marcus and Sarah get everyone to ships. Marcus started to protest, but Luna touched his hand. Her skin felt warm. Trust me, she said. I am stronger now. Know who I am. Sarah was already leading the others toward the hidden hangar. Marcus hesitated, then gave Luna a quick hug. 5 minutes, he said. Then we're coming back for you. Luna nodded and turned toward the station's power core. As Marcus followed the others, he heard her beginning to sing, a crystal song that made the station's lights flicker. In the hidden hangar, Sarah revealed 2 modified fighter ships, military surplus. She explained with a grin. Still have a few friends in the supply department. They were loading the last supplies when the whole station shuddered. The lights went out, then came back on bright purple. Luna's energy signature. Through the hangar windows, Marcus saw the slave trader ships approaching. Then a massive burst of multicolored light erupted from the station's center. The enemy ship's sensors would be completely overwhelmed. Now, Sarah shouted, while they're blind. The fighter ships roared to life. Marcus kept his eyes on the station's entrance, waiting for Luna. The seconds felt like hours. Finally, she appeared, running fast but looking drained. Marcus had already opened his ship's hatch. Luna practically fell inside. Go, she gasped, before shield falls. The fighters shot out of the hidden hangar just as Luna's energy shield began to fade. The slave trader ships were still trying to restore their sensors. Once they were safely away, Luna told them what she'd done. She hadn't just created a sensor blind. She'd accessed the station's old power core and sent a surge of energy through the slave traders' crystal engines, damaging them. They not follow for a long time, she said with tired satisfaction. Sarah's voice came over the comm. Good work. Now let's get to the first safe house. Time to build our army. As they flew through space, Luna looked at the map of resistance points. Her crystal skin glowed with hope. Not alone anymore, she said softly. No, Marcus agreed. Now we have friends. And once we free more of your people, we become unstoppable. Nova finished, her white crystal skin pulsing with determination. But Sarah's voice turned serious over the comm. The slave traders will know what we're doing now. They'll fortify the deep vault, increase security everywhere. Good, Luna said, and Marcus was surprised by the steel in her voice. Let them be afraid. For first time, they know what it feels like. As they approached the first safe house, Marcus realized how much Luna had changed from the frightened stowaway he'd found in his cargo hold. She was becoming a leader, a symbol of resistance. The real war was about to begin. And deep in his heart, Marcus knew they would need every ally, every safe house, and every bit of Luna's growing strength to face what was coming. Because the slave traders wouldn't just be fighting to keep their profits now. They would be fighting for survival. And cornered enemies were always the most dangerous. The infiltration. The smuggler's bar on Omega Station was filled with shadows and secrets. Marcus sat at a dark table, wearing the expensive clothes of a wealthy slave buyer. Luna stood behind his chair, her crystal skin deliberately dimmed to a dull gray. She wore simple clothes with a collar that marked her as a slave. Every part of her wanted to shine with anger, but she kept her energy contained. Sarah's intelligence network had finally found them a way into the deep vault. But the price would be high. They had to convince the slave traders that Marcus was one of them. Remember, Marcus whispered, if anything goes wrong. I remember plan, Luna said softly, but nothing go wrong. We prepared too long. She was right. For 3 weeks, they had trained at the Resistance safe houses. Luna had learned to control her energy better than ever. Marcus had memorized everything about being a slave trader, from how they talked to how they walked. Their fake documents were perfect. Sarah's forgers had worked for days to create them. A tall figure approached their table. The contact they were waiting for. His face was scared, and his eyes were cold cybernetic implants that glowed red in the dim light. "You're the new buyer." His voice was like grinding metal. Marcus nodded, keeping his face bored and cruel. "Looking for special merchandise. Heard you have access to the crystal kind." The cyborg sat down. His red eyes scanned Luna, and she felt his scanners probing her energy signature. This was the moment of truth. Either their modifications would fool him, or— "Interesting piece you have there," the cyborg said. "Where did you get her?" "Outer Rim auction," Marcus said smoothly. "Cost me a fortune, but worth every credit." "Show him, pet." Luna held back her disgust at the word pet and raised her hand. She let carefully controlled energy flow through her fingers, making patterns in the air, just enough to be impressive, but not enough to show her true strength. The cyborg nodded approvingly. "You've trained her well. Most of them are too wild at first." He leaned forward. "I might be able to get you into the next viewing at the Deep Vault. For the right price." Marcus pulled out a credit chip with an astronomical sum on it. "Will this cover it?" The cyborg's cybernetic eyes flickered as he scanned the chip. 2 days. Coordinates will be sent to your ship." He stood up. "Bring your pet. The boss likes to see how different specimens interact." After he left, Marcus and Luna stayed in character until they reached their ship. Only then did Luna let her skin blaze with its natural light. "Dirty thing," she said, ripping off the collar. "Hate pretending to be slave again." Marcus put a hand on her shoulder. "You did perfectly. Now we can warn Sarah's fleet where to find the Deep Vault." But Luna was looking at the ship's energy sensors with concern. Marcus, reading strange power levels, something blocking normal scans. He checked the instruments. She was right. There was some kind of energy field surrounding their ship. A moment later, their communication system crackled. "Clever disguise." It was the cyborg's voice. "But you made one mistake. Real crystal slaves don't control their energy so precisely. Only free ones can do that." Suddenly, their ship shuddered as a tractor beam locked on. Through the viewport, they saw a massive ship decloaking above them. Luna's skin blazed with battle light. They knew. Was trap. "No," Marcus said, quickly activating emergency systems. "They suspected. But now they've shown us exactly what we wanted to find." Luna looked confused for a moment, then understood. The massive ship above them. It had the same energy signature as the Deep Vault. They hadn't just found a way in. They'd found the mobile base itself. "Sarah," Marcus said into a hidden communicator. "You getting this?" "Every bit," Sarah's voice came back. "All ships in position. Just keep them busy for 3 minutes." The tractor beam was pulling them toward the massive ship's hangar. Luna pressed her hands to the ship's control panel. "Ready?" she asked. Marcus nodded. "Show them what a pet can really do." Luna's power surged through their ship's systems, but this time she didn't try to break free. Instead, she reached out with her energy, sensing the crystal slaves powering the bigger ship's engines. "Sisters, brothers," she sang in crystal language. "Time to wake up." The response was immediate. The massive ship's lights flickered as the enslaved crystal people felt Luna's call. But the slave traders had learned from last time. Dark energy barriers snapped into place, cutting off Luna's connection. "Not that easy this time," the cyborg's voice mocked. "We upgraded our containment systems after your little rebellion." "Good," Luna said with a fierce smile. "Then you not expect this." She pressed her hands together, and her skin began to glow with all the colors of her rescued friends. Zora's blue, Tech's green, Nova's white. The energy they had shared during their training flowed through her. The dark energy barriers shattered. The massive ship's hangar doors slammed shut. Its engines died, and its artificial gravity failed as the crystal slaves inside broke free of their containers. "Now, Sarah," Marcus shouted into the communicator. Space lit up as the resistance fleet dropped out of hyperspace, dozens of ships appearing all around the slave traders' vessel. But they weren't firing weapons. Each ship was broadcasting a focused beam of pure sunlight, amplified and concentrated. The freed crystal people aboard the slave traders' ship absorbed the energy, growing stronger by the second. Security doors melted, control systems overloaded, and the sound of crystal singing filled every corridor. "We surrender," the cyborg's voice shouted. "Just make it stop." But Luna wasn't finished. She could sense something deep in the ship, a heavily shielded chamber that still hummed with dark energy. "The research lab," she said grimly, "where they experiment on my people. Must end it. Forever." Marcus looked at her with concern. "You've used a lot of power already." "Not alone this time," Luna reminded him. As if in answer, energy beams from the rescued crystal people began connecting with their ship, flowing into Luna. She became a nexus of light and power. The slave trader's ship cracked open like an egg, split by the combined power of dozens of crystal people working together. In the exposed research lab, terrified scientists scrambled for escape pods as their dark energy generators overloaded and melted. When it was over, Sarah's teams found hundreds of crystal people in the ship's power chambers, all alive, all now free. They also found enough evidence of the slave traders' operations to shut down their entire network. Luna stood in the wreckage of the lab, her skin glowing with triumph. Deep vault destroyed. No more experiments. No more slaves. Marcus looked at her with pride and amazement. "I thought we were just going to infiltrate their operation. You ended it completely." "Not me," Luna corrected him. "Us. All of us together." She touched his hand, sharing a gentle pulse of energy. Human and crystal people. Both strong. Both free. As Sarah's teams began processing prisoners and helping the freed slaves, Marcus received an urgent message from one of the rescue teams. They'd found something in a heavily protected data core, coordinates to other deep vault facilities. Luna's skin brightened with determination. "Then we not finished yet. More people to free." Marcus nodded, already plotting courses to the new coordinates. The slave traders thought they could own your power. Instead, they showed everyone how powerful freedom can be. Above them, the crystal people were already converting the slave traders' ship into something new. Not a prison, but a liberation vessel. Its dark halls now glowed with crystal light, and the sounds of crystal singing echoed through space. The war wasn't over. But today, hope burned brighter than any star. The revolution. The converted slave ship, now renamed Crystal Dawn, moved silently through the darkness of space. Its hull glowed with gentle blue-white light from the crystal people who had made it their home. In the command center, Marcus studied the tactical display while Luna communicated with their growing network of freed crystal beings. 3 more deep vaults, Luna said, her skin pulsing with determination. Hidden in asteroid fields, gas giants, and dark space, all heavily guarded. Sarah's hologram flickered above the tactical table. The slave traders are desperate. They're moving their remaining inventory to these facilities, tripling their security. "Good," said Zara, her deep blue crystal form shimmering. "Means they scared." The last month had changed everything. Word had spread through the galaxy about the crystal people's rebellion. Other enslaved species were rising up. The slave trade was falling apart, but its leaders were becoming more dangerous in their desperation. Marcus pointed to the nearest facility on the map. "This one's in the Crimson Nebula. Lots of radiation and magnetic storms for cover." But he looked at Luna with concern. "They're using something new. Dark energy weapons designed specifically to hurt your people." Luna touched the tactical display, sending gentle pulses of energy through it to enhance the scan. "Not just weapons. Feel something else. Something Wrong. Her crystal skin flickered with unease. Tech, his green crystal form glowing softly, joined them at the display. They experimenting with dark energy cores, trying to make artificial crystal power. That's impossible, Marcus said, isn't it? Nova's white crystal form cast shadows as she entered. Not impossible. Dangerous. Dark cores are unstable, could destroy everything in system if they fail. Suddenly, Luna's skin flared bright. Emergency signal. From resistance ship near vault. The tactical display filled with urgent data. One of Sarah's scout ships had been discovered. Before being destroyed, they transmitted images of the Crimson Nebula facility. What they saw made everyone fall silent. The slave traders weren't just building weapons. They had created massive dark energy chambers where they were trying to forcibly fuse crystal people together, attempting to create living weapons. The images showed twisted forms, crystal beings warped by dark energy into something horrible. Luna's skin pulsed with rage and sorrow. They torture our people. Try to turn us into monsters. Her voice hardened. Must stop them. Now. Sarah's hologram nodded grimly. My fleet is ready. But those dark energy cores, one wrong shot could trigger a chain reaction. Then we do something they not expect, Luna said. Her skin began to glow with an idea. They think crystal people weak, defensive, but we can fight in ways they never imagine. She explained her plan. It was bold, dangerous, and completely unprecedented. The slave traders would never see it coming. 20 hours later, the Crystal Dawn dropped out of hyperspace near the Crimson Nebula, apparently alone and damaged. Its engines sputtered, leaking radiation. The perfect target. Inside the ship, Luna stood in a chamber they'd built in the heart of the vessel. Around her, dozens of crystal people linked hands, their combined energy flowing into her. They had spent hours practicing this, pushing the limits of their combined power. Patrol ships approaching, Marcus called from the bridge. They're scanning us. Good, Luna said softly. Let them come close. The slave traders took the bait. 3 heavily armed ships moved to surround the Crystal Dawn, preparing to capture what they thought was a damaged vessel full of escaped slaves. That's when Luna and the others released their power. The chamber amplified their combined energy, focusing it into a massive pulse that rippled out through space. The slave traders' dark energy weapons overloaded instantly. Their shields failed, but Luna wasn't trying to destroy them. Instead, the pulse carried a message directly into the minds of every crystal person still enslaved in the facility. A message of hope, of strength, and of revolution. The response was beyond anything they had expected. Inside the deep vault facility, hundreds of crystal people fought back simultaneously. Dark energy chambers shattered as their prisoners broke free. The artificial fusion chambers exploded as the twisted crystal beings inside remembered who they truly were. Sarah. Now. Marcus shouted into the comm. The resistance fleet appeared from hiding places in the nebula, not firing weapons, but broadcasting concentrated sunlight. The freed crystal people absorbed the energy, growing stronger. But the slave traders had one last desperate move. They activated their dark energy cores, intending to destroy everything rather than lose control. Luna felt the cores powering up. The destructive energy would kill everyone in the system, slaves, traders, and rescuers alike. There was only one way to stop it. Marcus, she called through the ship's comm. Remember what you teach me. About cards. Yes, he said, not understanding. About focusing. Controlling energy like controlling cards. Then he realized what she was planning. Luna, no, the dark energy would kill you. Not me alone, she said. All around her, the other crystal people were glowing brighter. We do together. Trust us. Before Marcus could protest, Luna and the others released their hold on their physical forms. Their crystal bodies dissolved into pure energy, flowing out through space toward the facility. Marcus watched in awe as streams of multicolored light, blue, green, white, and all the colors of his crystal friends, poured into the deep vault. They weren't fighting the dark energy cores. They were consuming them, transforming the destructive power into something new. The facility lit up like a newborn star. Where there had been twisted experiments and dark energy weapons, now there was only pure crystal light. The slave traders fled in terror as their base transformed around them. When it was over, Luna and the others reformed, their crystal bodies now bearing beautiful patterns of color where they had absorbed and transformed the dark energy. They were stronger than ever. But more importantly, they had shown the galaxy that they were not just victims to be exploited. They were warriors who could turn darkness into light. The liberated facility became their new base, a beacon of hope for other enslaved species. The remaining 2 deep vaults would soon fall. The slave trade was crumbling. As Luna stood on the observation deck later, watching crystal people transform the facility into something beautiful, Marcus joined her. "You know," he said quietly, "when I found you hiding in my cargo hold, I never imagined we'd end up starting a revolution." Luna's skin glowed warmly. "You teach me to be strong, to trust myself." She touched his hand, sharing a gentle pulse of energy. "Now we teach others." Below them, the former deep vault blazed with crystal light, a symbol of transformation that could be seen across the nebula. The slave traders had tried to turn crystal people into weapons of darkness. Instead, they had awakened warriors of light. But their victory had also revealed a disturbing truth. In the facility's databanks, they had found evidence that the slave traders' leadership had escaped to their final stronghold, and they had taken with them the most dangerous weapons and experiments of all. The final battle was coming, and it would determine not just the fate of the crystal people, but the future of freedom in the galaxy itself. New beginnings. The slave traders' final stronghold hung in the void between galaxies, far from any star's light. It was a massive station built like a dark star, its surface covered in weapons and shield generators. Around it floated the remains of their once mighty fleet, dozens of ships armed with dark energy weapons. In the Crystal Dawn's command center, Luna studied the enemy fortress. Her skin glowed with calm determination as she shared energy with the tactical display, enhancing its scanning capabilities. "They waiting for us," she said softly. "Have 100 crystal people inside, most powerful ones they could capture, forced to power their weapons." Marcus nodded grimly. "And they've got something else. Look." He pointed to strange energy readings at the station's core. "That's bigger than any dark energy generator we've seen before." Sarah's hologram appeared at the tactical table. Behind her, the combined fleet of resistance ships and converted crystal vessels gathered in the darkness. "Our spies got through. The slave trade leadership is all there, every major boss and weapons developer. They're making their last stand." Zara's deep blue crystal form pulsed with concern. "Dark readings are wrong. Not like before. More hungry. They're desperate," Tech added, his green crystal surface flickering. "Trying to make something that can stop us forever." Nova's white crystal form cast sharp shadows as she joined them. "Can feel it from here. They building dark star. If activated, will create hole in space. Consume everything." Luna's skin flashed with alarm. "Not just weapon. They want to bind all crystal people to dark star. Make us power source for black hole." Marcus felt sick. The slave traders weren't just fighting to survive anymore. They were willing to tear reality apart rather than lose control. "How long?" he asked. "Hours maybe," Luna said. "Energy building fast." Sarah's hologram nodded. "Then we strike now. All ships ready. Just give the word." But Luna was quiet, her skin pulsing with deep thought. "Direct attack fail. Dark star too powerful. Need something else." She looked at Marcus. "Remember how we meet. In cargo hold." "Of course," he said softly. "I hide then. Survive by being silent, invisible." Her skin began to glow brighter. "Maybe time to hide again." One last time. She explained her plan. It was incredibly dangerous, but it might be her only chance. An hour later, the resistance fleet launched its attack. Ships appeared from all directions, firing at the slave traders' fortress. The enemy responded with dark energy weapons, filling space with deadly beams. But it was all a distraction. The real mission was happening in silence. The Crystal Dawn, its energy signature masked by special shielding, slipped through the chaos of battle. In its cargo hold, just like when the story began, Luna hid among the boxes. But this time, she wasn't alone. Dozens of crystal people had volunteered for this most dangerous part of the plan. They lay silent in the hold, their energy dimmed to near invisibility. Among them were Zora, Tech, and Nova, Luna's closest friends and strongest allies. Marcus's voice came soft through the comm. Approaching main hangar. They're so focused on the fleet, they haven't noticed us. Luna touched the nearest wall, sending a pulse of reassurance through the ship. Like her, the Crystal Dawn had learned to hide its true nature. The ship landed in the fortress's hangar bay. Security scans swept over it, but found only what appeared to be an abandoned cargo vessel, its systems dead. "Ready?" Marcus whispered through the comm. Luna's skin flickered once in response. "Ready." The cargo hold opened silently. Luna and the others flowed out like liquid light, moving through shadows toward the fortress's core. Any security cameras they passed suddenly found their power mysteriously drained. They reached the central chamber unseen. What they found there made even Luna's hardened spirit cry out in pain. The Dark Star Generator was a massive sphere of twisted metal and dark energy. Around it, countless crystal people were bound into machines, their power being drained to feed the growing void at the sphere's heart. Above it all, on a protected observation deck, stood the leadership of the slave trade, wealthy beings who had built their fortunes on suffering. Luna sent out a silent pulse of crystal language. No. Every hidden crystal person revealed themselves at once, their combined light filling the chamber like a newborn sun. The slave traders' leaders cried out in shock as their secret weapon chamber was suddenly full of very angry, very powerful crystal beings. But they weren't surrendering. The leader, a tall figure in black armor, reached for a control panel. Too late. The Dark Star is already feeding. Try to stop it, and the core collapses. Everything dies. Luna stepped forward, her skin blazing. You never understand. Crystal people, not weapons, not tools. We are life itself. She raised her hands, and every crystal person in the chamber, both the rescuers and the former captives, began to glow brighter. Their light filled the chamber, not fighting the darkness, but embracing it. What are you doing? The leader demanded. Teaching darkness to shine, Luna said. The crystal people's energy flowed into the Dark Star Generator. But instead of being consumed, they began to change it. Just as they had transformed the dark energy cores before, now they transformed the Dark Star itself. The void at the heart of the machine didn't collapse. It transformed. Where there had been a growing black hole, now there was a newborn star of pure crystal energy. The slave traders' leaders tried to flee, but found themselves trapped. While Luna and the others had been freeing their people, Marcus, Sarah, and the resistance forces had taken control of the fortress. Every escape route was blocked. The crystal star continued to grow, its light filling every corner of the fortress. But it wasn't destructive. Instead, it was healing, transforming the place of darkness into something new. When it was over, the fortress had become something else entirely, a massive crystal structure floating in space, glowing with its own inner light. The Dark Star Generator had been transformed into a power source that could sustain crystal people indefinitely. The slave traders' leaders were arrested, their weapons destroyed, their entire network exposed and dismantled. But more importantly, every enslaved crystal person had been freed. In the days that followed, ships arrived from Crystal Gardens, Luna's homeworld. The crystal people had ways to travel between galaxies that no one had known about. They had been searching for their stolen children for years. Luna stood with Marcus in the Crystal Fortress's observation deck, watching the reunion ships arrive. Her skin glowed with joy and peace. "Going home?" Marcus asked softly. Luna touched his hand, sharing a pulse of warm energy. "Home is where we choose. Crystal Gardens is part of me. But so is this." She gestured at the transformed fortress, place where slaves become warriors, where darkness become light. "What will you do with it?" "Make sanctuary," she said, "for anyone who needs safe place. Human, crystal, all people." She looked at him. "If you stay too." Marcus smiled. "Try to get rid of me." Sarah joined them, looking out at the fortress that now shone like a beacon between galaxies. "The resistance fighters want to stay too. Help protect this place. Make sure nothing like the slave trade happens again." Luna's skin pulsed with happiness. Then she noticed something strange about the crystal star they had created. Its light was spreading, creating paths of crystal energy through space itself. "New hyperspace lanes," she said with wonder. "Crystal paths between stars. Now anyone can find sanctuary." Marcus watched the paths of light spread out into the darkness. "You know, when I found you hiding in my cargo hold, I thought I was just helping one person escape slavery. Instead, we helped change the galaxy." Luna's skin glowed with all the colors of her people: blue, green, white, and more. "No more hiding," she said. "Now we shine." The crystal fortress floated in the void, no longer a place of darkness, but a beacon of hope. Its light reached out across space, offering safe passage to anyone seeking freedom. Where the slave traders had tried to build a weapon to control the galaxy, now there was a sanctuary to protect it. And in the cargo hold where it all began, a small plaque was placed. It read simply, "Freedom begins with one act of kindness." The story of the human cargo pilot and the crystal stowaway became legend. But more importantly, it became hope. Proof that the darkest places could be transformed by light, and that the strongest chains could be broken by the power of friendship and courage. Luna and Marcus continued their adventures, protecting the sanctuary and helping others find their way to freedom. The crystal paths through space grew, connecting more worlds, bringing more people to safety. And somewhere in the galaxy, whenever someone saw a ship glowing with crystal light, they knew help was there for anyone brave enough to reach for it. The end.